capital Q question. If you are canvassing locations and you do not go to the house where you would like to install PV, what would be the best way to get information about the feasibility of the job? Would it be a fortune teller? No, I'm just kidding. So if you don't go there, what's the best way to get information about the feasibility of the job? And me being a sailor, when I see the word canvassing, I'm thinking of sails. And the word canvas, you know where that came from? This evil thing called cannabis, which actually has to do with the beginning of the solar industry in the California mountains around 1990. Okay, so you're looking for locations, trying to figure out where's a good place to install solar. And a lot of people sell solar without ever going to the job. But it also causes some problems because a lot of times when people do sell solar without going to the job, people show up and then they can't install the job and it wastes their time and they get this permit package and they throw it all together. But I guess some of these big companies, they just figure out that it's a good idea to do. And I figured they must be just guessing on the rafter spacing because they didn't even go there. And then they have to go there and confirm everything and do change plans and all that kind of stuff. But it is really common for people to do that. Okay, NREL Red Book data. That's a cool thing. National Renewable Energy Lab. I just mentioned too, I got interviewed by them yesterday. And they're in Golden, Colorado is the lab. It used to be called Solar Energy Research Institute. That's SERI when Carter started. Then Reagan changed it to an NREL, took away a lot of the funding, but now it's pretty funded back and they've developed a lot of the solar industry. So it's a great place. I've been there. Go check it out. They give tours not too far from Denver. In fact, you can go check out the ACES conference. A lot of times they have those not too far from Denver, like in Boulder. And then you can go check out NREL and the Rocky Mountains. You can go up there with John Denver, get the Rocky Mountain High, all that stuff. Okay, the next thing we're talking about is satellite and LiDAR data. And we're going to look at that a little bit because, well, I'll just give you a hint. That's the right answer. Is that good enough of a hint? So it's getting data from the sky. Satellite data, of course, is coming from satellites. These little things that are up there that are going around Earth, taking pictures that you see with your Google and all that kind of stuff. And that can give you some really good information. And I kind of like doing that. And I could go up there, I could do the 3D view, and then I could go rotate around the house and all that kind of stuff with with Google. That's pretty cool. And then LiDAR is something that they send up like in an airplane and they get echoes from L for lasers. So there's people in airplanes now that might be shooting lasers at you, trying to figure out how tall you are. That's kind of what LiDAR is. We're going to check it out. Weather data, also a good thing, but you don't really have to go get the weather data, figure out, oh, it's cloudy tomorrow and all that. But you can sort of get some of this weather data that kind of relates to NREL Red Book data. And so you can get like 30 years of typical meteorological year data, and it's built into the software. So even if you go to the site, you still need to get this kind of data. NREL Red Book data was the old way of doing it before computers, but now we have like PV Watts, and a lot of these companies, they use PV Watts. They use it inside of their software. So if you're buying somebody's software, there's a good chance that they're using the NREL data in their software. I've asked them. The number one residential design software company told me that they use the PV Watts data. Then we've got the homeowner opinion. And, it does sound like one of those answers like, oh, they're throwing this stupid answer out there. And obviously that's not the right one. And obviously it isn't the right one. But still, it is important to get the homeowner's opinion, I think. You're a salesperson. You want to know what the person feels, because if you don't ask them how they feel, they're going to think that you don't care about them. But they might not understand things about solar. They might not understand that a tree to the north is not a problem. They might not understand about having like multiple strings and different orientations, and breaking up PV source circuits into different orientations is not a good idea. All this stuff we've been talking about. But let's take a look at some of these things that I gathered. And so this is what some LiDAR data looks like. And so an airplane flew over and shot lasers at everybody. They were not space lasers, they're plane lasers. And so they shoot lasers at everybody. They get the laser reflection, the echo, at the speed of light, which is very fast, but we have very good instruments and we can tell how tall things are. So it is really cool, really accurate. And they only have this planes fly over the populated areas. And so if you live out in the boondocks, you probably are not going to be getting any LiDAR data. And so that's kind of some of the things that it could look like. And LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. And so it's using a pulsed laser. A laser is a light. There's a lot of things that are light. So cool. A laser is light that's all aligned with itself and the same frequency and the timing and all that kind of stuff. Lasers are cool. Look at this. I wish I had LiDAR vision, and then I could tell how far away everything is. So the way that my eyes tell how far away things are is that I have two eyes, and then I can look and see what angles are going at things. But LiDAR can look really far distances and know very accurately how far away something is. And so that's a cool renewable energy job. Save the planet by flying a twin engine airplane. That sounds like a cool job to me. And so here we've got just another picture of this. And so we got the laser. It's pulsing. It's hitting something and reflecting back. And it is kind of weird, like, that they can do this and, that people don't complain. And like, I know some people that are worried about electromagnetic radiation. And if they knew this, that the lasers were coming down and hitting them, they would be freaked out. But if you ever see one of these kind of cars, a self-driving car, that's the same thing. That's the LiDAR. And so if you look in there, you can see these things spinning. So I live in the Bay Area. I was living in Silicon Valley for a while. And there are these cars with LiDAR all over them and things spinning on bumpers and everywhere. And they could tell how far away things were. And so that's kind of been a thing about self-driving cars is, should they use LiDAR and they could tell depth perception perfectly? Or should they be using cameras like a human being does with all the human flaws and have like different angles on the different cameras lining things up and doing it that way? How smart do these computers have to become before they're safer than a human? These fallible humans. How do you know I'm not a computer too? I might just be AI. And this is a cool thing too. So I kind of like flying. And you can have a drone that can do things. So let's say that you live in an area that is not covered by LiDAR. What can you do? So you really do have to go out to the site with the drone. I don't think they have one where you could be 10 miles away at your office and then have the drone go and do the site survey. But hey, maybe they do. Maybe eventually they're going to just have some kind of like Uber-like service where you just dial it up and the guy drives over there and does a drone imaging. And so it's pretty cool. I do have a free class that I helped do with somebody on HeatSpring, and I talked a little bit more about this kind of thing. And so what they do is they set the drone down. It's all programmed up. They tell it where the roof is, where they want it to go. And the drone is smart. It can hover. If it starts to run out of batteries, it goes to where it took off and sits down. It can deal with wind. It does not bump into trees, does not bump into the rooftop. And so you can theoretically push the button, go inside, take a nap, go out, and it's all done. It's collected all that data, sent it back to the office. So pretty darn cool how it could do that. And so it just flies back and forth, and you can set it for different sensitivities. And so like more sensitive means it would just fly more and more patterns. It just goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's pretty cool. So just a little bit about the Federal Aviation Administration and running drones for a living. If you're doing drones for fun, you don't need an FAA license, but if you are doing drones for a business, some way to make income, then you need to have an FAA license. And I've had a number of people take my classes that are working on doing drones for solar. And I just think that's really cool. I had a guy from one of the drone companies, Tim was his name. He gave me a free drone. He saw me at the conference. He's like, hey, I took your class. Let me send you a drone. And he sent it to me, and I had fun with it for greater than a year. And we would fly it all around the house, so it wasn't like some super fancy drone, but it was actually a really good drone to learn on, just like a little cheap drone, like real small, lots of fun. I have another one that's kind of more complicated and I'm just too busy. I haven't taken the time to learn how to do it. And it's got like the goggles and it's like you're there. I got to, take the time and do that. But here I am having a blast recording videos. Aren't you glad I don't talk with a drone type of a voice? Okay, so back to the question. So you remember it. If you want to canvas a place without going there, the best thing out of the following is going to be satellite and LiDAR data. Okay, so I want to show you a little trick. So there's like the regular Google 2D view. Oh, look, it's Xfinity over there. And so this is a neighbor's house. And I know it's on a hill. I know there's trees and stuff like that. And you can't really see it from the 2D view. So what I do is I click on 3D, then I can get a better idea. But then I can go start clicking this and I go in circles and I can get a pretty good idea and I just keep turning it. When I'm not turning it, I can't see, but I could kind of see that tree is probably going to be some sort of a shading problem with that PV array. So maybe if I had a company that was going to do maintenance on projects, I would, point that out to them and go like, you really need to trim that tree. You're wasting your PV. You spend all this money on PV and you're getting some shading there. And so that was just kind of my trick of the day, is how to use just regular old Google Maps, not even Google Earth or anything like that. We can see what we got going on here by just doing a little spin. Let's go the other way. Woohoo! Isn't that fun? You can see what's going on. It's like it makes it more like real, like you're there and you can really kind of get the idea of what's going on with that shading.